I dropped the file the second I saw his name. Papers scattered across the sterile floor of the exam room. Medical charts mixing with my past like a spill I couldn't clean up fast enough. My hands shook as I bent to gather them, but my nurse Rebecca was already there, picking up the sheets with that concerned look she always gave me when something was wrong. "Dr. Monroe, you okay?" she asked, holding out the folder like it might bite. I wasn't okay, because printed across that patient intake form in bold black letters was a name I'd spent 5 years trying to forget. Damian Cole. The Damian Cole. The millionaire. The man plastered across business magazines and real estate billboards throughout the city. The man who owned half the skyline I drove past every morning on my way to work. The man who used to own me. "I'm fine," I lied, taking the file back with steady hands that betrayed nothing of the hurricane spinning in my chest. "Just tired." "Long shift." Rebecca nodded, but I could see the question in her eyes. She'd worked with me long enough to know when I was faking composure. Still, she left me alone in that small exam room, closing the door with a soft click that felt like a prison door locking. "Hi, viewers. Kindly tell us where you're watching from and what time it is. Warm welcome to the family. Enjoy the story." I stood there staring at that file for what felt like hours, but was probably only seconds. My reflection caught in the metal cabinet beside me. White coat crisp, hair pulled back professional and tight, face carefully neutral. Dr. Millionaire Monroe, cardiologist, healer of broken hearts. The irony wasn't lost on me. 5 years ago, I was nobody, just a girl in a cramped apartment that smelled like mildew and broken dreams, watching the man I loved transform into someone I didn't recognize. Back then, Damian Cole was just Damian. Ambitious, yes, but still human. Still mine. We ate ramen at 2 in the morning while he sketched building designs on napkins, his eyes bright with possibilities that didn't include dollar signs. He'd kiss my forehead and promise me the world, not realizing he'd have to lose his soul to buy it. I watched him change slowly, like watching water boil. First, the late nights turned into missing nights. Then the missing nights turned into weeks where I only saw him in passing, his suits getting sharper as his words got colder. Money has a voice, and once Damian started listening to it, he couldn't hear anything else. Not my concerns, not my tears, not my goodbye. The day I left, I didn't slam doors or throw dishes. I just packed my things while he was at another meeting, another deal, another step away from the man who used to hold me like I was the only fortune he needed. I left a note on the kitchen counter. "I hope one day you find something money can't buy." I doubt he ever read it. Now here I was, staring at his medical file, and the universe was laughing at both of us. The knock on the door made me jump. "Dr. Monroe," Rebecca's voice came through. "Your 2 o'clock is here." My 2 o'clock. Damian. I thought about running. Thought about passing the file to Dr. Harrison down the hall, claiming a conflict of interest or sudden migraine. But something stopped me. Maybe it was pride. Maybe it was curiosity. Maybe it was the small, stupid part of my heart that never fully moved on, no matter how many medical journals I'd buried it under. "Send him in," I heard myself say. I straightened my coat, smoothed my hair, and arranged my face into the professional mask I'd perfected over years of dealing with difficult patients and devastating diagnoses. I could do this. I was Dr. Monroe now, not the girl who cried herself to sleep in an empty apartment. The door opened, and there he was. Damian looked exactly the same and completely different all at once. Same dark hair, though now professionally styled instead of perpetually messy. Same strong jaw, though now clean-shaven and sharp. Same eyes that used to look at me like I hung the moon, though now they were guarded, calculating, cautious. He wore a suit that probably cost more than my first year of medical school. Everything about him screamed success, power, money. Everything except his face when he saw me. That mask cracked just a little. "Ilera," he said, and my name in his voice was a time machine I didn't ask to board. I cleared my throat, clicked my pen, became the doctor. "Mr. Cole, please have a seat." He didn't move, just stood there in the doorway, staring at me like I was a ghost he'd conjured by accident. "I didn't know you worked here." "I didn't. Would you have come if you did?" I asked, keeping my voice level professional. His silence was answer enough. "Please sit," I repeated, gesturing to the exam table. We need to discuss your test results. Something in my tone must have registered because he finally moved, closing the door behind him and sitting on the exam table. The paper crinkled under his expensive pants, a sound too ordinary for everything happening between us. I opened his file, scanning information I'd already memorized. You came in last week complaining of chest pains, fatigue, and shortness of breath during physical activity. Is that concern I hear, doctor? He asked, and there was the old Damien, the one who used sarcasm as armor. I ignored him, flipping to the lab results. My eyes found the numbers I was looking for, and my professional mask cracked just slightly. Your blood work shows elevated cardiac enzymes. The echocardiogram revealed reduced ejection fraction and signs of ventricular dysfunction. He blinked at me, lost in the medical jargon. So I gave it to him straight, the way I'd learned to deliver bad news. Quick and clean, like pulling off a bandage. Your heart is failing, Damien. The words hung in the air between us like smoke. His face went pale. What? Early-stage cardiomyopathy. I continued, my voice steady even as my hands wanted to shake. Your heart muscle is weakening. It's not pumping blood as efficiently as it should. He laughed then, a sharp, bitter sound that belonged to someone much older. That's funny. There's nothing funny about. No, it is, he interrupted, looking at me with eyes that suddenly seemed too tired for his face. The woman whose heart I broke is now here to tell me my own heart is breaking. That's either irony or karma, and I'm not sure which is worse. I should have stayed clinical, should have kept the walls up, but something about seeing him there, powerful, wealthy, untouchable Damien Cole, suddenly mortal and afraid, cracked something in me I thought I'd sealed years ago. Can be fixed, he asked quietly. It can be managed, I said carefully, with medication, lifestyle changes, regular monitoring. But Damien, I paused, choosing my words. This isn't something you can throw money at. You need to reduce stress. You need rest. You need people around you who actually care whether you live or die. His jaw tightened. Those are in short supply these days. That's because you traded them all for square footage and stock options. The words came out harsher than I intended, years of buried resentment bleeding through my professional veneer. He flinched, and I saw something I'd never seen on Damien Cole's face before. Regret. I deserve that, he said softly. You deserve a lot more than that, I replied, then caught myself. But right now, what you deserve isn't relevant. What matters is whether you're willing to make the changes necessary to save your life. He looked at me for a long moment, and I couldn't read the expression on his face. Then he asked the question I wasn't prepared for. Are you going to be my doctor? I should have said no. Should have referred him to DR. Harrison or any of the other cardiologists on staff. Should have protected myself from whatever complications this would bring. Instead, I heard myself say, someone needs to make sure you don't die before you learn your lesson. A ghost of a smile crossed his face. And what lesson is that? I closed his file, looked him straight in the eye, and said words that surprised even me. That some things are worth more than empires. Before he could respond, my pager went off. Emergency in the ICU. Saved by the literal bell. We'll schedule your follow-up appointment at the front desk, I said, already moving toward the door. In the meantime, fill these prescriptions, no alcohol, no excessive stress, and for God's sake, Damien, get some sleep. I was halfway out the door when his voice stopped me. Alara, I paused, but didn't turn around. I read your note, he said quietly. Every word, every day for 5 years. My hand tightened on the doorframe, but I didn't let myself look back. Then you should know I meant them. I left before he could see my hands shaking. As I walked down the hospital corridor, past nurses and patients, and the beeping monitors that measured heartbeats and time running out, I tried to convince myself that this was just another patient, just another case, just another broken heart to fix. But deep down, I knew better, because the file I carried had more than just medical charts. Tucked in the back, marked as emergency contact information from my own employment records years ago, was a name that changed everything. Lyric Monroe, our daughter, the secret I'd kept from him for 4 years. And suddenly, Damien Cole's failing heart was the least complicated thing I'd have to deal with. What would you do if the person who broke your heart suddenly needed you to save their life? Drop your thoughts below. The coffee in my hand had gone cold an hour ago, but I kept holding it anyway, staring at the patient schedule on my computer screen like it might change if I look hard enough. Damian Cole, Thursday, 2 p.m. Follow-up consultation. 3 days had passed since our first appointment, and I hadn't slept properly once. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw his face when I told him about his heart. That flash of vulnerability. That crack in the armor he'd built from steel and success. But worse than that, I kept thinking about the secret sitting in my living room right now, probably watching cartoons and eating cereal straight from the box like I told her not to 1,000 times. Lily, our daughter, who drew pictures of buildings just like her father used to, who had a stubborn chin and my cautious eyes, who asked me every few months why she didn't have a daddy like the other kids at school. And every time I lied and said some people's families just look different. How do you tell a 4-year-old that her father exists, but doesn't know she does? That you kept her a secret, not out of cruelty, but out of protection? That the man who could buy her anything couldn't give her the one thing she needed? Time? Dr. Monroe? I jumped, nearly spilling cold coffee across my keyboard. Rebecca stood in my doorway, with that knowing look again, the one that said she saw right through my professional mask. Your 9 o'clock canceled. Rescheduled for next week, she said, then paused. You okay? You've been off since Monday. I'm fine, I said automatically. You said that Monday too, right before you dropped an entire patient file. I closed my laptop harder than necessary. Rebecca, I appreciate the concern, but it's him, isn't it? She interrupted, moving into my office uninvited and closing the door. Damian Cole, I saw how you looked when you saw his name. That's not just a doctor seeing a difficult case. That's personal. I wanted to deny it. Should have denied it. But Rebecca had worked with me for 3 years, through late nights and emergency surgeries and the occasional breakdown in the supply closet. She'd earned some honesty. We have history, I admitted quietly. What kind of history? The kind that ends badly. She studied me for a moment, then asked the question I'd been avoiding. Does he know about Lyric? My silence was answer enough. Rebecca's eyes went wide. Oh my God. Damian Cole is Lyric's father. Keep your voice down, I hissed, glancing at my closed door like the walls might have ears. Alara, you can't keep that from him. Not now. Not when he's your patient. Watch me, I said, opening my laptop again like that into the conversation. It didn't. This is going to blow up in your face, Rebecca warned. Secrets always do. Not if I manage them properly. You can't manage the truth. It has a way of coming out whether you're ready or not. Before I could argue, my office phone rang. I grabbed it like a lifeline. Dr. Monroe. Doctor, this is Janet at the front desk. Mr. Cole is here for his 2 o'clock. I glanced at my watch. It was only noon. He was 2 hours early. Tell him I'm with another patient, I said. I did. He said he'd wait. Of course he would. Damian Cole didn't hear the word no anymore. Not from receptionists or real estate boards, or apparently from time itself. Fine. I'll be out in a few minutes. I hung up and looked at Rebecca, who was watching me with a mixture of concern and something that looked like pity. You're going to have to tell him eventually, she said softly. I know, I replied. Just not today. But when I walked into the waiting room 20 minutes later and saw Damian sitting there in jeans and a t-shirt instead of his usual suit, looking more like the man I used to know than the millionaire he'd become, I wondered if today was exactly when everything would fall apart. He stood when he saw me, and I noticed he had a coffee carrier with 2 cups. Peace offering, he said, holding one out. Black, 2 sugars. Unless you've changed. I hadn't. And the fact that he remembered after 5 years did something dangerous to my carefully constructed walls. You're early, I said, not taking the coffee. I wanted to talk, not as patient and doctor, just as, he paused, searching for the word, as us. There is no us, Damian. There hasn't been for 5 years. I know, and I want to explain why. I don't need explanations. I need you to take your medication and show up for your appointments on time. Alara, please. His voice dropped, and suddenly we weren't in a hospital waiting room anymore. We were back in that tiny apartment, back when please meant something. 5 minutes. That's all I'm asking. Every instinct screamed at me to say no, to maintain boundaries, to protect myself and Lyric from whatever chaos this would bring. Instead, I took the coffee. 5 minutes, I said. My office. We walked in silence down the corridor, past nurses who try not to stare at the famous Damien Cole, following their cardiologist like a lost puppy. I unlocked my office, let him in, and closed the door on all the curious eyes. He didn't sit, just stood there holding his coffee like he didn't know what to do with his hands. I was scared, he finally said. Of what? Of failing you. Of being the guy who promised you the world and couldn't even afford to fix the leaking sink in our bathroom. Every day, I watched you come home exhausted from your classes and your part-time jobs, and I knew I was the reason you were struggling. I never asked you for anything, I said quietly. I know. That made it worse. You deserve someone who could take care of you, and I was just, he gestured vaguely, nobody. So I decided to become somebody, to build something worthy of you. And in the process, you forgot I already thought you were worthy. He flinched like I'd slapped him. By the time I realized what I'd lost, you were gone. I went to your school, your job, everywhere I could think of. You just vanished. I needed a clean break. From me or from who I'd become. Both, I admitted. We stood there in my tiny office, 5 years and a million unsaid words between us, and I felt something shift. Not forgiveness, not yet, but maybe understanding. Your 5 minutes are up, I said, even though I hadn't been counting. I'm still going to come back, he said. For the appointments. For the treatment. Maybe for more if you'll let me. Damien, I'm not asking you to forgive me. I'm just asking for a chance to prove I learned something from losing you. He set his untouched coffee on my desk and headed for the door, then paused with his hand on the handle. That note you left? The one about finding something money can't buy? I found it, Alara. It was you. It's always been you. He left before I could respond, which was good because I had no idea what to say. I sat down at my desk, put my head in my hands, and tried to remember all the reasons why letting him back in was a terrible idea. The list was long and logical and absolutely right. But then my phone buzzed. A text from my babysitter with a photo of Lyric, finger painting at the kitchen table, covered in blue paint and grinning like chaos itself. And I realized my list of reasons didn't matter. Because in 3 hours, I had to pick up that little girl and somehow keep hiding her from the one person in the world who had a right to know she existed. The secret Rebecca warned me about, it wasn't just coming out. It was about to explode. Have you ever kept a secret so big it changed everything? Tell us in the comments. Lyric was singing when I got home. Some made-up song about dinosaurs and pizza, her voice carrying through the apartment door before I even got my keys out. I could hear Mrs. Chun, my babysitter, laughing at whatever creative chaos my daughter had cooked up this time. Normal. Everything was supposed to be normal. I pushed open the door and found Lyric standing on the kitchen counter, which she absolutely was not allowed to do, reaching for the cookie jar on top of the fridge. She was still in her paint-covered clothes from earlier, now with additional evidence of what looked like marker on her arms. Lyric Marie Monroe, get down from there right now. She spun around, lost her balance, and I lunged forward just as Mrs. Chin caught her. My heart was in my throat, pounding so hard I wondered if this was what Damien felt like when his heart acted up. Mama, Lyric threw her arms around my neck like she hadn't almost just given me a heart attack. I made you a picture. Mrs. Chin shot me an apologetic look. I turned my back for 2 seconds to grab the laundry. It's fine, I said, even though it wasn't. Nothing was fine. I was unraveling, and my 4-year-old climbing furniture was just the physical manifestation of my life spiraling out of control. I paid Mrs. Chun, thanked her like always, and locked the door behind her. Then I turned to find Lyric holding up a piece of construction paper covered in paint and glitter and something that might have been glue or might have been who knows what. Look, it's us in a big house with a garden and a dog and a daddy. My breath caught. Sweetie, you know we've talked about this. I know. Different families look different, she recited, rolling her eyes in that way that made her look so much older than 4. But Emma's dad came to school today for career day, and he's a lawyer, and I thought maybe if we knew what my daddy did, we could find him. I knelt down, so we were eye level. Baby, it's not that simple. Why not? Because grown-up stuff is complicated. That's what you always say when you don't want to answer.
Smart kid. Too smart. I wonder if she got that from me or from Damien, who could read people like blueprints. How about we make dinner instead? You can tell me about school. She studied me with those eyes that saw too much, then shrugged. Okay, but I'm making spaghetti, and you can't say no because you said it was my turn to pick. I laughed despite everything. Deal. We made dinner together, lyrics standing on her step stool at the counter, sauce somehow ending up everywhere except the pot. She chattered about her day, about Emma's lawyer dad and the spelling test she aced, and how her teacher said she was really good at drawing buildings. Buildings. Like father, like daughter. After dinner, after bath time, after 3 stories and 2 glasses of water and 1 more trip to the bathroom, I finally got her tucked into bed. I was almost out the door when her voice stopped me. Mama, does my daddy know about me? I froze, hand on a light switch. Why do you ask? Because if he knew about me, he'd want to meet me, right? So if he doesn't know, that means you didn't tell him. And I'm trying to figure out why. For years old and already putting together puzzles I didn't want solved. I sat back down on her bed, brushing hair off her forehead. You're right. He doesn't know about you. Why? Because when you were born, he wasn't ready to be a daddy. And I wanted to protect you. From him. From disappointment. She thought about this for a moment. Is he a bad person? No, I said honestly. He's just a person who made mistakes. Like everyone does. Have you made mistakes? So many, baby. So many. She yawned, finally giving in to sleep. When I'm older, can I meet him? Even if he made mistakes? Maybe. I whispered, kissing her forehead. We'll see. But as I watched her drift off, I knew maybe wasn't good enough anymore. Rebecca was right. Secrets had expiration dates, and mine was about to go bad. I went to my bedroom, pulled out the box I kept hidden in my closet, and opened it for the first time in months. Inside were photos from our apartment days. Me and Damien young and stupid and in love. His sketches. My old medical school acceptance letter. A napkin with his drawing of the house he promised to build me one day. And at the bottom, the ultrasound photo from when I found out I was pregnant. I'd stood in that clinic bathroom, staring at the positive test, knowing I had 2 choices. Tell Damien and watch him choose between his dreams and his family, or leave and let him have the success he'd sacrificed everything for. I chose wrong. Or maybe I chose right for the wrong reasons. Either way, the choice was about to be taken out of my hands. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Thank you for today. For listening. For the coffee you didn't drink but took anyway. For giving me 5 minutes I didn't deserve. D. I stared at that message for too long, my thumb hovering over the keyboard. I should ignore it. Should maintain professional boundaries. Should do a lot of things I wasn't going to do. Instead, I typed, "Your next appointment is Thursday. Don't be late." His response came immediately. "I'm always early for things that matter." I put my phone face down and try not to think about what that meant. But sleep didn't come easy. I lay there in the dark, listening to the city outside my window, thinking about Damien in his penthouse somewhere above it all. Did he lie awake too? Did he think about me the way I was thinking about him? Did he wonder what might have been if we'd both been different people? My phone buzzed again. Another text. "I've been thinking about that note you left. About finding something money can't buy. I think I finally understand what you meant. Some things aren't for sale. Some things just are. Like gravity. Like sunrise. Like the way you used to look at me before I ruined everything." I sat up, heart pounding, fingers shaking as I typed and deleted and typed again. Finally, I sent, "Go to sleep, Damien. Take your medication. Rest. I'll rest when I figure out how to fix this." Some things can't be fixed. Only managed. Is that the doctor talking or Alara? I stared at that question for a long time before responding, both. Then I turned off my phone, because if I didn't, I'd say something I couldn't take back. But morning came anyway, like it always does, bringing Thursday and appointments and the inevitable collision of past and present. When I walked into the hospital at 6 a.m. for my shift, there was a coffee on my desk. Black, 2 sugars, with a note. For the woman who saves hearts. Even broken ones. Especially broken ones. And I knew, standing there with that coffee in my hand and tears threatening to ruin my mascara, that I was running out of time. Because Lyric wasn't the only secret I was keeping. The real secret was that I'd never stopped loving him. And that was going to destroy everything. Would you tell the truth or keep protecting the secret? Drop your answer below. The coffee sat on my desk for an hour before I finally threw it away. Not because I didn't want it, because I did. And that was the problem. Damien was doing exactly what he used to do, worming his way back in with small gestures that seemed thoughtful, but were really just reminders. Reminders that he knew me, that he remembered. That 5 years and $1 million hadn't erased the part of him that used to be mine. I threw myself into work. Morning rounds, patient consultations, 2 emergency cases that kept me in surgery until noon. Anything to avoid thinking about the appointment scheduled for 2 p.m. But 2 o'clock came anyway, the way bad news and inconvenient truths always do. This time, Damien was exactly on time. I found him in exam room 3, sitting on the table, scrolling through his phone. He looked up when I entered, and his face did that thing, that softening that made him look less like a billionaire and more like the broke boy I used to share ramen with. "Dr. Monroe," he said with a small smile. "Mr. Cole." I kept my voice clinical, professional. "How have you been feeling?" "Weird," he admitted. "The medication makes me tired. I've been sleeping 10 hours a night. I haven't done that since college." "That's good. Your body needs rest." "My board of directors disagrees. I've missed 3 meetings this week." I pulled up his chart on the tablet, scanning the latest test results our lab had sent over. "Your board can find another CEO. You can't find another heart." Spoken like someone who never lost theirs to ambition. I looked up sharply. "Don't do that." "Do what?" "Act like you're the only one who made sacrifices." I worked 3 jobs to put myself through undergrad. I slept 4 hours a night during medical school. I ate cereal for dinner more times than I can count. So don't you dare imply I don't understand ambition. That's not what I meant. "Then what did you mean?" He was quiet for a moment, then said softly, "I meant I'm the only one who sacrificed the wrong things." The air went out of my anger all at once. I closed the tablet, set it down, and forced myself to look at him, really look at him. The exhaustion around his eyes wasn't just from medication. It was from years of burning himself out for success that left him sitting on an exam table in a hospital alone. "Your test results are improving," I said quietly. "The medication is working. Your ejection fraction is up slightly, and the inflammation markers are down. If you keep this up, the rest, the reduced stress, the lifestyle changes, you might avoid more serious interventions." "Like what?" "Like an implantable defibrillator. Or worse." He absorbed this information with a nod, but I could see the fear underneath. Damien Cole, who'd built an empire through calculated risks, was finally facing a gamble he couldn't control. "I need you to be honest with me," he said. "Not as my doctor, as someone who used to care about me. Am I going to die?" The question hung between us, raw and real. "Everyone dies eventually," I said carefully. "That's not an answer. It's the only answer I have. If you do what I'm telling you, rest, reduce stress, take your medication, actually show up for follow-ups, you could live a long, normal life. But if you go back to working 80-hour weeks and treating your body like it's invincible, then yes, your heart will give out. Maybe in a year, maybe in 5, maybe tomorrow." His jaw tightened. "So I have to choose between the life I built and actually living. You have to choose between an empire and a heartbeat. And honestly, Damien, that should be the easiest choice you've ever made." "Nothing's easy anymore," he said quietly. "It used to be. Back when we were." He stopped himself. "Back when we were what?" "Happy. Poor and stupid and happy." I wanted to argue, to tell him we weren't that happy, that we were stressed and struggling and 1 bad month away from eviction. But I couldn't, because he was right. We were happy then, in the way only people who have nothing but each other can be. My phone buzzed. A text from Mrs. Chun with another photo of Lyric, this time napping on the couch with her stuffed dinosaur. I tried to angle the phone away, but Damien was too quick. "Cute kid," he said. "Yours?" My heart stopped. "What?" "Your phone. There's a kid. I just assumed you're wearing a ring on your right hand, so maybe not married," but he paused, watching my face. "I'm overstepping. Sorry. None of my business." I should have lied. Should have said she was my niece or a friend's kid or literally anything other than the truth. Instead, I locked my phone and said yes. She's mine. Something flickered across his face. Surprise, maybe, or disappointment. I couldn't tell. What's her name? Lyric. Beautiful name. How old? 4. The lie came easier than it should have. She was almost 5, but 4 kept her conception safely outside the timeline of us. He smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. You have a family. That's good. You deserve that. Damien, no, I mean it. I'm glad you found what I couldn't give you. The guilt hit me like a physical thing, crushing my chest worse than any heart condition could. Because he thought I'd moved on, found someone else, built a life that didn't include him, and I was letting him believe it. We should schedule your next appointment, I said, desperately needing to change the subject. 2 weeks from now. We'll run another echo, check your progress. He nodded, sliding off the exam table. But he didn't head for the door. Instead, he turned back to me with an expression I couldn't quite read. Can I ask you something? And will you be honest? Depends on the question. If I hadn't gotten sick, if I hadn't walked into this hospital and seen you, would you have ever reached out? Ever wondered what happened to me? I wanted to lie, to protect myself, to keep the walls up, but something in his face, some vulnerability I hadn't seen since our apartment days, made me tell the truth. Every single day, I whispered. I wondered every single day. His eyes widened slightly, and I saw something crack in his careful composure. Hope, maybe, or recognition that whatever we'd had wasn't as dead as we'd both pretended. Alara, you should go, I interrupted, before he could say something that would break me completely. I have other patients, and you need to rest. He studied me for a long moment, then nodded. Okay, 2 weeks. 2 weeks, I confirmed. He walked to the door, paused with his hand on the handle. Thank you for being honest. It's more than I deserve. Damien, he turned back. Take care of yourself. Please. Because if your heart gives out, I stopped myself, realizing what I was about to admit. You what? I'll be very disappointed. Professionally speaking. He smiled then, a real one that reminded me of mornings waking up tangled in cheap sheets and cheaper dreams. Professionally speaking. Right. Then he was gone, and I was alone in the exam room with the ghost of what we used to be and the secret of what we'd created. I pulled out my phone, looked at Lyric's picture again. She had his eyes, his stubborn determination, his talent for making me feel everything all at once. Rebecca was right. This secret was going to explode. I just hope we'd all survive the blast. If you were Alara, would you tell him the truth? Let us know what you'd do. I made it 3 days before everything fell apart. 3 days of pretending I had control. 3 days of convincing myself I could manage the secret just a little longer. 3 days of lying to everyone, including myself. Then Lyric's preschool called. Ms. Monroe, this is Principal Davidson. Lyric is fine, but we need you to come pick her up. She's had a bit of an incident. My stomach dropped. What kind of incident? She got into an altercation with another student. About fathers. I really think we should discuss this in person. I left the hospital mid-shift, got Rebecca to cover my afternoon appointments, and drove to the preschool with my heart in my throat. Lyric never got into fights. She was the kid who cried when other kids were mean to bugs. I found her sitting outside the principal's office, arms crossed, tear-stained face set in an expression of pure defiance that looked so much like Damien, it physically hurt. Lyric, what happened? Tommy said I was lying. He said everyone has a daddy, and if I don't know mine, it means I'm making it up. My heart cracked. Baby. So I pushed him, and I told him my daddy is real. He just doesn't know about me yet because my mama is protecting me. And then Tommy laughed and said that's not how families work, and her voice broke. I told him my daddy is Damien Cole. The world tilted. You what? I saw his picture. In your box. The one you hide in your closet. I wasn't snooping, I promise. I was just looking for my winter coat, and the box fell, and she burst into tears. I'm sorry, Mama. I didn't mean to look, but there were so many pictures of you and him, and he looked happy, and you looked happy, and in one of the pictures you were touching your belly, and I just knew. Okay. I pulled her into my lap, not caring that we were in the middle of the hallway or that Principal Davidson was watching through her office window. It's okay. You're not in trouble with me. But I told Tommy, and now everyone knows. And what if she hiccuped? What if he finds out and he doesn't want me. Oh, baby. I held her tighter. That's not going to happen. How do you know? Because I saw how he looked when he thought I had a child with someone else. Because jealousy and longing were written all over his face. Because Damien Cole might be a lot of things, but uninterested in his own daughter wouldn't be one of them. I just know. I whispered. Principal Davidson called us into her office, and we had the uncomfortable conversation about appropriate behavior and using words instead of hands. Lyric apologized, even though I could tell she didn't think pushing Tommy was the wrong choice. There's one more thing, Principal Davidson said as we were leaving. Tommy's father is a journalist. He works for the business section of the Tribune, and apparently, he found the name Damien Cole interesting enough to verify. My blood ran cold. Verify. I shut it down immediately, of course. Told him it was just preschool drama and not to run with anything a 4-year-old says during an argument. But she gave me a sympathetic look. If this is true, Ms. Monroe, you might want to get ahead of it before it becomes a story. I thanked her, took Lyric's hand, and walked out to my car in a daze. A story. My life was about to become a story. We drove home in silence. I kept glancing at Lyric in the rearview mirror, her face pressed against the window, watching the city go by. Mama. Yeah, baby. Are you mad? No. Are you scared? I thought about lying, but I'd lied enough. Yeah, a little. Me too. We got home, and I made her favorite dinner. Chicken nuggets shaped like dinosaurs and mac and cheese that glowed an unnatural orange. We ate on the couch, watching cartoons neither of us paid attention to. My phone rang 3 times. Damien's number. I didn't answer. After I tucked Lyric into bed, with extra stories and extra cuddles and extra promises that everything would be okay, I sat in my living room and tried to figure out my next move. The logical choice was to call Damien. Explain before he heard it from someone else. Control the narrative. But logic had left the building around the same time a journalist started sniffing around my daughter's preschool drama. My phone rang again. Damien. Again. This time I answered. Where were you? His voice was tight with something I couldn't identify. You left the hospital. Rebecca said it was an emergency. Are you okay? I'm Fina. You don't sound fine. Damien, I can't do this right now. Can't do what? Talk to me? Because you've been avoiding my calls all evening, and I know I don't have a right to worry about you. But apparently I haven't figured out how to stop. My daughter had an incident at school, I said, choosing my words carefully. I had to pick her up. Is she okay? She's fine. Just kid drama. Good. That's good. He paused. Alara, there's something else. Something weird happened today. My chest tightened. What kind of weird?
A reporter called my office. Asked if I had any comment on my relationship with Dr. Alara Monroe from City General Hospital. Said something about a child. I told them it was none of their business and to lose my number, but another pause. What's going on? This was it. The moment where everything exploded, or I somehow defused a bomb with my bare hands. Damien, because if someone is harassing you or spreading rumors about you, I will bury them. I don't care what lawyers I have to hire or what it costs. Nobody messes with, he stopped himself. With what? With people I care about, he finished quietly. I closed my eyes, pressed the phone to my ear, and made the choice that would change everything. Can you come over? We need to talk. In person. Now. Now. Alara, it's 9 p.m. Are you sure? I'm sure. I'm texting you my address. Come alone. Don't bring lawyers or assistants or anyone else. Just you. Silence on the other end. Then, I'm on my way. I hung up and sat there, staring at my hands, trying to remember how to breathe. In 30 minutes, maybe less, Damien would be here. In my apartment, where pictures of Lyric covered every surface. Where her toys littered the floor. Where evidence of the daughter he didn't know he had was impossible to miss. I could clean up, hide things, make it less obvious. But I was done hiding. I texted him my address, then went to Lyric's room. She was asleep, clutching her stuffed dinosaur, peaceful and perfect, and about to have her world turn upside down. I am sorry, Baba, he whispered. I should have done this years ago. Then I heard the knock on my door. He was early. Of course he was early. I opened the door, and there was Damien Cole, standing in my hallway in jeans and a t-shirt, looking more nervous than I'd ever seen him. His eyes immediately went past me, scanning my apartment, landing on the photos, the toys, the small pair of shoes by the door, then back to my face. And I watched him put the pieces together. "Alara," he said slowly, "how old did you say your daughter was?" My voice came out as a whisper. I lied. "She's almost 5. The color drained from his face. "5," he repeated. "5." That means he did the math in his head, and I saw the exact moment the truth hit him. "Oh my God, her name is Lyric," I said, my voice shaking. "And she's yours." What happens next? Stay tuned for Chapter 6. Damien stumbled backward like I'd physically shoved him. His hand found the doorframe, gripping it so hard his knuckles went white. For a man who'd negotiated billion-dollar deals without breaking a sweat, he looked like he might pass out right there in my hallway. "Say that again," he whispered. "Lyric is your daughter." "Our daughter." He opened his mouth, closed it, opened it again. No words came out. I stepped aside, gesturing him in, because having this conversation in the hallway where my neighbors could hear seemed like a terrible idea. He walked past me like a ghost, his eyes darting around the apartment, landing on every piece of evidence I'd been hiding for almost 5 years. The drawings taped to the fridge, buildings and skyscrapers that looked just like his old sketches. The photo on the mantle of Lyric at her 4th birthday party, blowing out candles with his exact smile. The toy blocks scattered across the floor, arranged in architectural patterns. "I have a daughter," he said to himself, like testing the words. "I have a 4, almost 5-year-old daughter." "Yes. And you never told me." "No." He spun around, and I saw the anger starting to break through the shock. "Why? Why would you keep this from me?" "Because when I found out I was pregnant, you were already gone," I said, keeping my voice steady even though my hand was shaking. "Not physically, but mentally, emotionally. You'd already chosen. I saw it in your eyes every time you came home late. Every time you chose a meeting over dinner. Every time you talked about the future and your plans didn't include me anymore. That's not fair. It's completely fair. You want to know what my last month with you looked like? I ate dinner alone 17 times. I fell asleep alone 23 times. And the night I decided to leave, you didn't even notice I was packing because you were on a conference call in the bedroom at 2 in the morning. His face crumpled. I was building something. For us. You were building something for you. And there's nothing wrong with that, Damien. You had dreams. You chased them. But I couldn't stick around to watch you sacrifice everything that mattered for everything that didn't. "A child matters," he said, his voice breaking. "My child matters. You should have told me." "Why? So you could resent her for derailing your plans? So you could split your time between board meetings and diaper changes and slowly grow to hate both? So she could grow up feeling like an obligation instead of a choice." "That's not who I am. That's exactly who you were becoming." The words hung between us, brutal and true. He sank onto my couch, put his head in his hands, and for a long moment, the only sound was the hum of the refrigerator and the distant wail of sirens outside. "What's she like?" he finally asked. I sat down beside him, careful to leave space between us. "She's stubborn, creative, too smart for her own good. She builds towers out of blocks and then knocks them down just to build them differently. She asks a million questions and never accepts simple answers. She sounds like you. She's like both of us. She has your eyes, your smile, your talent for seeing beauty in structures and patterns. But she has my caution, my need to understand why before accepting what. Does she know about me? She found out today. That's why I had to leave work. She got into a fight at preschool with a kid who said she was lying about having a father. She saw photos of us in an old box I kept. Put 2 and 2 together. Damien looked up sharply. She knows I'm her father? She figured it out. 4-year-olds are smarter than we give them credit for. And a journalist found out too. Welcome to the consequences of being famous. Your life isn't private anymore. And now, neither is ours. He stood abruptly, started pacing. This is going to be everywhere. The tabloids, the business press, social media. My board is going to have questions. My investors, he stopped himself. God, listen to me. My daughter exists, and I'm worried about investors. Old habits, I said quietly. I don't want to be that person anymore. He turned to look at me, and his eyes were wet. I've had weeks to think about what you said. About finding something money can't buy. I thought I understood, but I didn't. Not until right now. Because standing here, knowing I have a daughter I've never met, knowing I've missed almost 5 years of her life, that's not something I can fix with money or power or anything I've spent my life chasing. No, I agreed. It's not. I want to meet her. My heart clenched. Damien, please. I know I don't deserve it. I know I screwed up in ways I can't take back. But please, Ilera, let me meet my daughter. I thought about saying no. About protecting Lyric from the complications this would bring. About maintaining control just a little longer. But then I remembered her face at preschool, tear-stained and defiant, telling Tommy her daddy was real, even if he didn't know about her yet. She's asleep, I said. But you can see her. Just don't wake her up. I need to prepare her first. Explain things. He nodded eagerly, like a kid being offered a gift he'd stopped believing in. I led him down the hallway to Lyric's room, pushed open the door quietly. Her nightlight cast a soft glow across her bed, where she was curled up with her stuffed dinosaur, one hand tucked under her cheek. Damien froze in the doorway. I watched him take in every detail. Her dark hair spread across the pillow, the way her chest rose and fell with sleep-steady breaths, the drawings pinned to her wall, the books scattered across her floor. Then he pressed his hand to his mouth, and his shoulders shook. I'd seen Damien Cole angry, ambitious, cold, distant, but I'd never seen him cry like this, silent, broken, overwhelmed. She's perfect, he whispered. Yeah, I said softly. She is. We stood there for several minutes, watching her sleep. Then I gently pulled him back into the hallway and closed the door. What happens now? He asked. Now you go home. Tomorrow, I'll talk to her. Prepare her. Then we'll set up a meeting. Somewhere neutral, somewhere she feels safe. And you'll meet your daughter properly. And after that, I don't know. We figure it out. Like co-parents do. Is that all we are? His voice was careful. Co-parents. I looked at him, at this man who'd broken my heart and was now standing in my hallway with tears on his face, and I told him the truth. I don't know what we are anymore, Damien. I just know that for the last 5 years, I've been protecting our daughter. And starting tomorrow, that's going to include protecting her from the media circus that's about to descend. So whatever we are or aren't, it needs to take a back seat to being what she needs. He nodded slowly. You're right. She comes first. Always. I need to hear you say it again. Because the man I left 5 years ago wouldn't have been able to put anyone first. I'm not that man anymore, he said firmly. I'm trying not to be. Trying isn't the same as doing. Then watch me do it. Give me the chance to prove I've changed. I wanted to believe him. God, I wanted to believe him so badly it physically hurt. Go home, I said instead. I'll call you tomorrow. He hesitated, like he wanted to say more. Then he just nodded and headed for the door. Damien, he turned back. She asked about you. I've been asking for months. About why she doesn't have a daddy. So when you meet her tomorrow, understand that you're not just meeting your daughter. You're meeting a little girl who's been waiting her whole life for you to show up. His jaw tightened. I won't let her down. You already did. By not being there. So what you really mean is you won't let her down again. The words were harsh, but he needed to hear them. Needed to understand the weight of what he was stepping into. You're right, he said quietly. I won't let her down again. I promise. After he left, I checked on Lyric one more time. Still sleeping, still peaceful, still unaware that her world was about to change. I kissed her forehead and whispered, Your daddy's coming, baby. Tomorrow, everything changes. Then I went to my room, lay in bed, and stared at the ceiling, wondering if I'd just made the biggest mistake of my life or fixed one I'd made 5 years ago. My phone buzzed. A text from Damien. Thank you. For her. For everything. I know I don't deserve this chance, but I swear I'll spend the rest of my life earning it. I stared at those words for a long time before responding, Don't tell me. Show her. Because words were cheap, and promises were easy, but showing up, being present, choosing love over ambition, that was the real test. And tomorrow, we'd find out if Damien Cole could pass it. What would you do in Ilera's position? Tell us in the comments below. Morning came too fast and too slow all at once. I woke up to Lyric standing beside my bed, her stuffed dinosaur clutched in one hand, her face serious in a way that made her look older than almost 5. Mama, did you mean it? Is my daddy really Damien Cole? So much for easing into the conversation. I sat up, patted the bed beside me. She climbed in, and we sat there in the early morning light. I tried to figure out how to explain the mess I'd made. Yes, baby. He's your daddy. Why didn't you tell me before? Because grown-ups make mistakes sometimes. And I thought I was protecting you by keeping it a secret. But I was wrong. Does he know about me now? Yes. I told him last night. Her eyes went wide. What did he say? He cried. Because he was so happy you exist. And so sad he missed so much of your life. She thought about this, her little face scrunched up in concentration. Is he going to meet me? Today. If you want to. Where? Wherever you want. The park? Your favorite ice cream place? Here at home. She considered her options carefully. The park. Because if he's weird or scary, we can leave. But if he's nice, we can stay and play. Smart kid. Always having an exit strategy. The park it is, I said, pulling her close. But Lyric, I need you to understand something. Your daddy is going to love you. I know that for certain. But he's also learning how to be a daddy, and that means he might make mistakes. And when he does, we'll talk about it, okay? Like how you made a mistake by not telling him about me? Exactly like that. She nodded, satisfied with this explanation. Can I wear my dinosaur shirt? So he knows I like dinosaurs. You can wear whatever you want. She scrambled off the bed, already planning her outfit, leaving me sitting there wondering how a 4-year-old had more emotional intelligence than most adults I knew. I texted Damien, Lincoln Park, the playground near the fountain. Noon. His response came immediately. I'll be there. Should I bring anything? Just yourself. And patience. She's 4, almost 5. She's going to have questions. I have questions too. I know. We'll figure it out. The hours before noon felt like years. I made breakfast, helped Lyric pick out her dinosaur shirt and her favorite sneakers, braided her hair the way she liked. Normal morning routine with absolutely nothing normal about the day ahead. Mrs. Chin called to check in, having heard through the preschool grapevine about yesterday's incident. I gave her the abbreviated version, promised details later, and thanked her for caring. Rebecca texted, I covered your shift. Take the day. Take the week if you need it. And call me later because girl, we need to talk. At 11:30, we headed to the park. Lyric held my hand the whole way, quieter than usual. I could practically hear her brain working, processing, preparing. Mama, what if he doesn't like me? Impossible. You're the most likable person I know. What if I don't like him? Then we'll deal with that too. But I think you will. He's a lot like you. Ow. He builds things, creates things, sees the world in patterns and possibilities. And he's stubborn as heck when he wants something. She grinned. Like me. Exactly like you. We got to the park at 11:45. Damien was already there, sitting on a bench near the playground, wearing jeans and a simple shirt, looking more nervous than I'd ever seen him. He stood when he saw us, and I felt Lyric's hand tighten around mine. It's okay, I whispered. I'm right here. We walked over slowly. Damien's eyes never left Lyric, taking in every detail of the daughter he was meeting for the first time. Hi, he said softly, kneeling down so he was at her eye level. You must be Lyric. She nodded, suddenly shy, pressing against my leg. I'm Dangan. You're, his voice caught. Your dad. Lyric studied him with those serious eyes that saw too much. You look like the pictures, but older. He laughed, a surprised, delighted sound. Yeah, I am older. It's been a long time since those pictures. Mama said you didn't know about me. She's right. I didn't. And I'm really sorry about that. Because if I had known, I would have been here from the very beginning. Do you promise? I promise. She seemed to accept this, then asked, Do you like dinosaurs? I don't know much about them, he admitted. But I'd like to learn. I can teach you. I know all the dinosaurs, even the ones with hard names. I like that very much. She let go of my hand then, a small but monumental gesture. Want to see the swings? I can go really high now. Mama doesn't even have to push me anymore. I'd love to see. I watched them walk toward the swings, Lyric chattering about her school and her friends and her favorite dinosaur facts. Damien listening like every word was precious. He lifted her onto the swing, and she kicked off, pumping her legs like I taught her. Look, I'm flying. You're amazing, Damien said, and his voice was thick with emotion. I stayed on the bench, giving them space but staying close enough to intervene if needed. But they didn't need me. Lyric talked, Damien listened, and slowly, cautiously, they started building something new. After the swings, they moved to the sandbox, where Lyric immediately started constructing an elaborate castle. Damien joined her, and I watched him fall into old habits, sketching in the sand, creating structures, teaching her techniques without even realizing he was teaching. Like this, he said, showing her how to pack the sand tighter. It makes the walls stronger. You're good at this, Lyric observed. I used to build things for a living. Buildings, houses, skyscrapers. Mama said you're really rich. He glanced at me, surprised. Did she? She said you have lots of money, but forgot how to be happy. Are you happy now? Direct hit. For years old and already asking the questions that mattered. Damien looked at his daughter, really looked at her, then back at the sandcastle they were building together. You know what? Right now, in this moment, I'm happier than I've been in years. Good. Because Mama says happiness is more important than money.
Your mama is very smart. I know. She's a doctor. She fixes hearts. She fixed mine once, Damien said quietly. A long time ago. Lyric looked between us, processing. Did it break again? Yeah, it did. Is she fixing again now? I hope so. They played for another hour while I sat and watched and tried not to cry at the beauty and pain of it all. This should have been happening for years. First steps, first words, first everything. And Damien had missed it all because of my choice. But watching them now, seeing Lyric's face light up every time Damien praised her castle or answered her questions, I knew I'd make the same choice again. Because the Damien from 5 years ago couldn't have done this. Couldn't have sat in a sandbox and built castles and listened like every word mattered. This Damien, the one who'd faced his own mortality and realized what he'd lost, he could. Finally, Lyric ran back to me, breathless and excited. Mama, did you see? Daddy and I built a whole city. Daddy. She called him Daddy. I saw Damien freeze at the word, saw emotion wash across his face. I saw baby. It's beautiful. Can Daddy come for dinner? I want to show him my room and my drawings. I looked at Damien, saw the hope in his eyes, the question he was afraid to ask. If he wants to, I said carefully. I want to, he said immediately. If that's okay with you. It wasn't okay. It was terrifying and complicated and potentially heartbreaking. But I nodded anyway. Okay. Dinner at 6. Lyric cheered, grabbed both our hands, and swung between us as we walked toward the park exit. And for just a moment, we looked like what we should have been all along, a family. But I knew better than to trust moments. Moments were easy. It was the days and weeks and years that tested you. Thank you, Damien said quietly as we walked. For today. For her. For giving me a chance I don't deserve. Don't thank me yet, I replied. The hard part is just beginning. I know. But I'm ready. I hope he was right. Because Lyric was already attached. Already calling him Daddy. Already building castles with him like they've been doing it her whole life. And if he failed her now, if he let ambition or money or anything else pull him away, it wouldn't just break her heart. It would destroy mine all over again. Do you think Damien has really changed? Share your thoughts below. Dinner was chaos in the best possible way. Lyric insisted on helping cook, which meant flour everywhere, sauce on the ceiling somehow, and a 4-year-old covered head to toe in pasta ingredients. Damien jumped in without hesitation, following her instructions like she was a master chef instead of a tiny tornado. No, Daddy, you have to stir it like this, she said, demonstrating with exaggerated motions that sent more sauce onto the counter than into the pot. Daddy. Every time she said it, I watched Damien's face do something complicated, joy and grief mixed together. Like this. He copied her motions, equally messy. Perfect. Mama, did you see? Daddy's good at cooking. I see that. I said, try not to laugh at the state of my kitchen. It looked like a bomb had gone off. A delicious-smelling, pasta sauce-covered bomb. We ate dinner at the kitchen table, Lyric positioned between us, talking non-stop about school and dinosaurs, and her best friend Emma, who she sometimes liked, and sometimes didn't depending on whether Emma shared the good crayons. Damien listened to everything like she was explaining the secrets of the universe. And then, Mrs. Peterson said my drawing was good enough to go on the wall. The special wall, not the regular wall where everyone's drawings go. That's amazing. Can I see it? It's in my room. Want to see my room now? I have lots of drawings. I'd love to see your room. They disappeared down the hallway, leaving me alone with the disaster kitchen and my complicated feelings. I could hear Lyric's voice carrying back, explaining every detail of her space, every drawing, every toy, every book. I was loading the dishwasher when Damien came back, looking shell-shocked in a good way. She's incredible, he said simply. I know. She draws buildings, skyscrapers, bridges, things I used to sketch when he stopped. She has my notebooks, the old ones from our apartment, with my designs. She found them in that box. Started copying your drawings. I didn't realize until it was too late to stop it. I'm glad you didn't stop it. His voice cracked. She is part of me, even though I wasn't here. That's something, right? It's something, I agreed quietly. He grabbed a dish towel, started drying plates without being asked. We worked in silence for a few minutes, the domesticity of it strange and familiar all at once. I've been thinking, he said finally, about what happens next. I want to be in her life, Alara. Really in it. Not just weekend visits or holidays. I want to be her father. That's a big commitment. I know. And I know I have no right to ask for anything after missing so much. But I'm asking anyway. I want to be part of this. Part of her life. Part of... He gestured vaguely between us. There is no us, Damien. I know. But there's her. And she deserves parents who can work together. Agreed. So we'll work out a schedule. You can have her on weekends or certain weekdays. Whatever works with your schedule. I'm selling the company. I dropped the plate I was holding. It hit the water in the sink with a splash. You're what? Selling the company. Or at least my majority stake. I've already talked to my lawyers. Started the paperwork. I'll stay on as a consultant, but I'm stepping down as CEO. Damien, you can't just... That's her life's work. No, he said firmly. That was my life's distraction. My life's work is supposed to be right here. With her. He stopped himself. I can't build an empire and be a father. I tried that once, and it cost me everything. I'm not making that mistake again. This is too much too fast. You're making huge decisions based on... Based on what? Meeting my daughter? Realizing what actually matters? Those aren't rash decisions, Alara. Those are the first clear decisions I've made in years. I wanted to argue, to tell him he was being impulsive, that he'd regret it, that he couldn't just dismantle his life overnight. But looking at his face, seeing the certainty there, I realized something. He'd already made this decision. Maybe not consciously, but the moment his heart started failing, the moment he sat in my exam room and faced his own mortality, he'd started choosing differently. Mama, Daddy, Lyric's voice carried from her room. Come see. I made something. We went to her room and found her standing proudly beside a structure she'd built from blocks. A tall building with intricate details, windows placed precisely, a foundation that actually looked structurally sound. It's us, she explained. Our building, where we all live together. The words hung in the air, innocent and devastating. Baby, I started carefully. Daddy has his own house, and we have ours. That's how it works sometimes. Her face fell, but I thought, she looked at Damien, don't you want to live with us? I saw him struggle, saw him choose his words carefully. I would love to live with you, but your mama and I need to figure some things out first. Is that okay? I guess. She didn't sound convinced, but I promise I'll see you all the time. As much as your mama says is okay. And we'll have so many adventures together. Like what? Like anything you want. The zoo? Museums? We could build real structures together. I could teach you about architecture. Her eyes lit up. Really? Really? Crisis averted. Lyric went back to playing with her blocks. Damien and I retreated to the hallway. She's going to ask that a lot, I said quietly. Why we don't live together. Why we're not a normal family. What do you tell her? The truth. That sometimes people love each other but can't be together. That family comes in all different shapes. Do you still love me? The question came out of nowhere, hitting me like a physical blow. That's not fair, I whispered. I know, but I need to know, because I never stopped loving you, Alara. Not when you left. Not when I was building my empire. Not ever. I just got lost for a while. And I'm trying to find my way back. To what? To the man you fell in love with. To the person I was before ambition made me stupid. I looked at him, really looked at him. Saw the exhaustion around his eyes from medication and reduced work hours. Saw the humility that hadn't been there 5 years ago. Saw the father who'd spent an afternoon building sandcastles like it was the most important meeting of his life. I don't know if that person exists anymore, I said honestly. We're both different now. You're not the broke dreamer. I'm not the girl who believed love was enough. We're just two people trying to raise a daughter together. Is that all we can be? I don't know. Maybe. Right now, she has to be enough. She has to be the reason we figure this out. He nodded slowly. You're right. She's enough. She's everything. We stood there in my hallway, the sounds of lyric playing drifting from her room, and I felt the weight of 5 years and a million choices pressing down. You should go, I said finally. It's getting late, and we both have a lot to process. Can I see her again tomorrow? Damien, please. I know it's too much too soon, but I've missed almost 5 years. I don't want to miss another day. I thought about saying no, about establishing boundaries and being reasonable. Okay, tomorrow, after her preschool, you can pick her up, take her for ice cream, bring her home by dinner. His face lit up. Really? Really? But Damien, if you commit to this, you commit. You don't get to show up for a few weeks and then disappear when work gets busy or life gets complicated. She needs consistency. Can you promise that? I promise. On everything I have, everything I am, I promise. We said goodbye at the door. Lyric insisted on a hug, wrapping her small arms around his waist and squeezing tight. Bye, Daddy. See you tomorrow. See you tomorrow, sweetheart. After he left, I gave Lyric her bath, read her 3 stories, and tucked her in. She was asleep in minutes, exhausted from the emotional roller coaster of the day. I sat on her bed for a while, watching her sleep, wondering if I'd done the right thing. Wondering if letting Damien back and would heal old wounds or create new ones. My phone buzzed. A text from him. Thank you for today, for letting me be her father. I know I have a long way to go to earn your trust, but I meant what I said. I'm selling the company. I'm choosing her. I'm choosing differently this time. I stared at that message for a long time before responding. Don't tell me. Show her. Every single day. That's how you earn trust back. I will. Starting tomorrow. I hoped he meant it, because Lyric was already in love with the idea of her daddy. And if he broke her heart, I'd never forgive him, or myself for letting it happen. Would you give Damien another chance? Let us know what you think. 3 months changed everything and nothing all at once. Damien showed up every single day. Some days it was just for an hour, picking Lyric up from preschool, getting ice cream, playing at the park. Other days it was longer, weekends at the Children's Museum, afternoons building elaborate block cities, evenings reading bedtime stories. He never missed. Not once. Not for work, not for meetings, not for anything. True to his word, he'd sold his majority stake in the company. The business news went crazy for weeks. Billionaire steps down, walks away from empire, sources say personal reasons. Reporters tried to dig, tried to find a story, but Damien's lawyers kept our names out of it. Kept Lyric protected. His health improved too. The medication worked, the reduced stress helped, and his follow-up appointments showed steady progress. His heart was healing literally and figuratively. But the complicated part wasn't Damien and Lyric. They were easy. She adored him, and he worshipped her. They'd fallen into a rhythm like they'd been father and daughter forever. The complicated part was Damien and me. Because somewhere between co-parenting and shared dinners and watching him read bedtime stories to our daughter, I'd started feeling things I'd promised myself I wouldn't feel again. You're falling for him again, Rebecca said one afternoon, sitting in my office during my lunch break. Don't even try to deny it. I can see it on your face. It's complicated. Love usually is. This isn't love. This is nostalgia or gratitude that he's being a good father. Or you never stopped loving him and now he's finally the man you needed him to be 5 years ago. I wanted to argue. Couldn't. He asked me to dinner. I admitted, just us. No lirik. Like a date. Rebecca's eyebrows shot up. And And I said no, because we're co-parents. And mixing that up with romance is a terrible idea. Or it's the exact right idea. Ow! Because Lyric already sees you two as her parents. She draws pictures of your family. She talks about when we're all together like it's inevitable. And maybe she's right. Maybe you two are fighting something that's already done. Or maybe we're being smart by not rushing into something that could fall apart and hurt her. Alara, he sold his company for her. He shows up every single day. He sends you coffee every morning. Don't think I haven't noticed that. He looks at you like you hung the moon. At some point, you have to stop protecting yourself from the past and start living in the present. She was right. I knew she was right. But knowing and doing were different things. That night, Damien came for dinner like he did most evenings now. We'd fallen into a routine. He'd help cook, we'd eat together, play with Lyric, then he'd help with bedtime before heading home to his now much smaller apartment across town. After Lyric was asleep, we stood in my kitchen like we always did, cleaning up, making small talk, pretending we weren't dancing around something bigger. I'm taking her to the aquarium this weekend, he said, drying a plate. Unless you want to come? She'd like that. You going together. I meant all of us. Together. I set down the dish I was washing. Damien, I know what you're going to say. That we're co-parents and we need boundaries. But Alara, I miss you. Not just as Lyric's mother. As you. The woman I fell in love with. The woman I never stopped loving. Don't do this. Why not? What are we protecting ourselves from? We're already doing this. Raising a child together. Having dinners together, being a family in every way except the one that matters. Because what if it doesn't work? What if we try and fail and then Lyric loses both of us? And what if we don't try and she grows up seeing her parents too scared to be happy? Is that better? I didn't have an answer for that. He moved closer, close enough that I could smell his cologne, see the hope and fear mixing in his eyes. I'm not the man who left you behind. I'm not chasing empires or success or anything that doesn't matter. I'm just trying to be the man you and Lyric deserve. And if you need more time to believe that, I'll wait. I'll wait as long as it takes. And if I never believe it, then I'll keep showing up anyway. Because being in your life, in her life, even just as friends, that's better than the alternative. My phone rang, breaking the moment. Work. Emergency in the ICU. I have to go, I said, grateful for the escape. I know. Go save someone's heart. He smiled sadly. Maybe someday you'll let me save yours. I left before I could respond, before I could do something stupid like kiss him or tell him the truth, that he didn't need to save my heart because it had always been his. The emergency kept me at the hospital until 3 a.m. A complicated surgery, a patient who coded twice, but we pulled him through. As I was leaving, exhausted and running on fumes, I checked my phone. 17 missed calls, 32 texts, all from Damien. My blood went cold. The most recent one, at Children's Hospital. Lyric had a seizure. Mrs. Chun called 911. They're running tests. Please come. I don't remember driving there. Don't remember parking or running through the emergency room doors or finding the pediatric wing. Everything was a blur until I burst through the door and saw Lyric in a hospital bed, small and pale, with Damien sitting beside her holding her hand. What happened? I demanded, my doctor voice barely covering my terrified mother voice. Mrs. Chun stood in the corner, wringing her hands. I'm so sorry, Dr. Monroe. She was fine, playing with her blocks, and then she fell. Started shaking. I called 911 immediately, and then I called Mr. Cole, because I couldn't reach you. You did the right thing, I said, already moving to Lyric's bedside, checking her pupils, her vitals, reading her chart. How long was the seizure? 90 seconds, Damien said, his voice hollow. They said 90 seconds. They've done a CT scan, blood work. We're waiting on results. Lyric stirred, her eyes opening slowly. Mama, I'm here, baby. I'm right here. I kissed her forehead, forcing myself to stay calm, even though every instinct screamed panic. I don't feel good. I know, sweetheart. The doctors are going to figure out why. Okay. A pediatric neurologist came in, DR. Sarah Chun, someone I'd worked with before on consults. She pulled me aside while Damien stayed with Lyric. Alara, the CT scan shows no structural abnormalities. Blood work is normal. No fever, no signs of infection. This appears to be an isolated febrile seizure, possibly triggered by stress or exhaustion. She's 4. What stress could she possibly have? Dr. Chen glanced toward where Damien sat with Lyric. Mrs. Chen mentioned there have been big changes recently. New routines, new people in her life. Sometimes children's bodies react to emotional stress in physical ways. Guilt hit me like a freight train. This was my fault. Bringing Damien back into her life, changing everything, expecting her to just adjust. This isn't anyone's fault, Dr. Chen said, reading my face. Children are resilient, but sometimes their bodies need time to catch up with their emotions. We'll keep her overnight for observation, but I expect she'll make a full recovery. I nodded, not trusting my voice. When I went back to Lyric's bedside, Damien looked up at me with red-rimmed eyes. Is she okay? She will be. They want to keep her overnight to monitor. I'm staying. Damien, you don't have to. I'm staying, he repeated firmly. She's my daughter. I'm not leaving. Mrs. Chen left after apologizing another dozen times. The nurses set up a cot for me and pulled in a reclining chair for Damien. We settled in for the night, one on each side of Lyric's bed. She fell asleep around 4 a.m., holding both our hands. Damien and I sat in silence for a while, watching her chest rise and fall, both of us too afraid to speak, to move, to do anything that might disturb her. I thought I was going to lose her, he finally whispered. Mrs. Chen called, and all I heard was hospital and seizure, and his voice broke. I've only known her for 3 months. How do you do this? How do you survive loving someone this much? You just do. Because you have to. I'm sorry. For what? For not being here from the beginning. For making you do this alone for 5 years. For being so stupid and selfish that I almost missed all of this. Damien, no, let me finish. When I got that call tonight, all I could think was that I'd wasted so much time. Time I could have spent with her. With you. Building the life we should have had. And I can't get that time back, but I can make sure I don't waste any more. He reached across Lyric's sleeping form and took my hand. I love you, Alara. I never stopped. And I love our daughter more than I knew it was possible to love anything. And I know you're scared. I know I hurt you. But I'm asking you to trust me one more time. Let me prove that I've changed. That we could be a family. A real family. I looked at our hands, then at Lyric sleeping between us, then at his face. Open, vulnerable, terrified of my answer. I'm scared, I admitted. Me too. What if we try and it doesn't work? What if we try and it does? I thought about Rebecca's words, about Lyric's drawings of our family, about the way Damien showed up every single day, about how he dropped everything when she needed him, about how he'd sold his company and chosen differently. Okay, I whispered. Okay, let's try. Slowly, carefully, with her needs first always. But okay, let's try. The smile that broke across his face was the same one I'd fallen in love with a lifetime ago. I won't let you down, he promised. You better not, because I'm not just giving you my heart. I'm trusting you with hers too. I know. I won't mess this up. I can't mess this up. We sat there the rest of the night, holding hands across our daughter's hospital bed, and for the first time in 5 years, I let myself hope that maybe, just maybe, we could find our way back to each other. When morning came, Lyric woke up feeling better. The doctors cleared her to go home with instructions for rest and follow-up appointments. Damien insisted on driving US, insisted on staying to make sure she was settled, insisted on doing everything a father, a partner, would do. And I let him, because somewhere between the seizure and the hospital vigil and the sunrise, I decided to stop fighting what was already happening. We were becoming a family. Slowly, messily, imperfectly, but real. And maybe that was enough. Have you ever gotten a second chance at love? Tell us your story below. 6 months later, everything looked different. Not perfect, never perfect, but different in ways that mattered. Damien had officially moved into an apartment 2 blocks away, close enough to be involved, far enough to give us space to figure things out. He had Lyric 3 nights a week, and those nights I catch up on work or see friends or remember what it felt like to be just a Lara, not Mama. But most nights, he'd end up at our place anyway. For dinner, for bedtime stories, for the 1,000 small moments that made up a life. We hadn't put a label on what we were. Not yet. We were just us, figuring it out, doing it messy and real and honest. His health continued improving. The cardiomyopathy was managed with medication and lifestyle changes. He saw me for follow-ups every month, and we'd somehow figured out how to separate Dr. Monroe, the cardiologist, from Alara, the almost girlfriend. Almost, because we still hadn't made it official. Until tonight, I stood in my bedroom, staring at the dress I'd laid out on the bed. Damien had asked me to dinner. Just us, fancy restaurant. His words were a real date, like we should have been having for months. Lyric was at her grandmother's, Damien's mother, who'd flown in from Seattle the moment she found out about her granddaughter and hadn't stopped spoiling her since. Rebecca had done my makeup, given me a pep talk, and threatened to disown me if I didn't let myself be happy for once. My phone buzzed. Damien, picking you up in 20 minutes. We're something that makes you feel beautiful. Not that you need help with that. I smiled despite my nerves and slipped into the dress. When he knocked on my door exactly 20 minutes later, I opened it to find him in a suit that probably cost more than my monthly rent, holding flowers. Not roses, but sunflowers, my favorite that he somehow remembered. You look, he stopped, swallowed hard. I don't have words. You clean up pretty nice yourself. We drove to a restaurant I'd never heard of, the kind of place where they don't put prices on the menu, and the wine list is a leather-bound book. The kind of place the old Damien would have taken clients to impress them. But this Damien held my hand across the table and asked about my day, and listened like my stories about difficult patients and hospital politics were the most interesting things he'd ever heard. I have something to tell you, he said over dessert. My stomach clenched. Okay. I bought a building. Damien, wait, let me finish. I bought a building, not to flip or develop or turn into condos. I'm converting it into a community center. Free after-school programs, art classes, architecture workshops for kids who want to learn but can't afford it. I stared at him. Why? Because Lyric asked me what I do now that I'm not a CEO, and I realized I didn't have a good answer. So I wanted to do something that mattered, something I could show her and be proud of. Damien, that's incredible. I want you to help me run it. Well, not run it. I know you're busy saving actual hearts, but help me design it. Make it what it needs to be. Why me? Because you've always seen what matters, even when I couldn't, and because I want to build something with you. Something that's ours. Not mine, not yours, ours. He reached across the table, took both my hands. I know we're taking this slow. I know you're still not sure you can trust me not to mess this up. But Alara, I'm all in. With you, with Lyric, with this life we're building. And I need you to know that. I do know that. I've known for a while. Then why are we still tiptoeing around each other? Because I'm terrified, I admit it. Because the last time I loved you this much, it destroyed me. And now there's Lyric to think about. If we crash and burn, she crashes with us. So we don't crash. We build something strong enough to last. Like you taught me, treat the symptoms, address the cause, commit to the process. I laughed through unexpected tears. You're using cardiac metaphors? I'm using everything I've got. Because I love you. Because I want to wake up in your apartment or my apartment or whatever space we decide is ours. Because I want to be there for every bedtime story and every preschool pickup and every moment in between. Because you and Lyric are my family, and I want to make that official. He pulled something from his pocket, not a ring box, but a key. This is to the building, for the community center. I want a name on it too. Partner, equal ownership, because I'm done making decisions alone. Done building empires that don't mean anything. I want to build a life. With you. I took the key, feeling its weight, understanding what he was really offering. Not just a building or a project, but proof that he'd changed, that he meant it. Okay, I said. Okay, I want to build something with you too. Not just the center. Everything. A life. A family. All of it. His face transformed with joy so pure it made my chest ache. Does this mean are we? If you're asking if we're together, officially, no more tiptoeing, then yes. We're together. He came around the table, pulled me up, and kissed me like he'd been holding back for months. Which he had. We both had. When we finally broke apart, the entire restaurant was staring, but I didn't care. I have one condition, I said. Anything. You keep showing up. Every day. Even when it's hard. Even when we fight, or life gets complicated. You show up. I will. I promise. On everything, I will. We left the restaurant hand in hand, drove back to my apartment, and spent the rest of the night talking about the future. The real future. The one where we stopped being careful and started being brave. The next morning, we picked up Lyric from Damien's mother. She took one look at us, at our intertwined hands, at the way we couldn't stop smiling, and grinned. Are you boyfriend-girlfriend now? Yeah, baby, Damien said. We are. Finally. I've been waiting forever. We all laughed, and in that moment, standing in his mother's living room with our daughter between us, I realized something beautiful. We weren't the same people who'd fallen in love in that tiny apartment all those years ago. We were better, stronger, changed by loss and time and the lessons learned the hard way. And maybe that's what second chances were really about. Not going back to who you were, but becoming who you were supposed to be all along. 2 years later, the community center opened with Lyric cutting the ribbon, proud as anything. A year after that, Damien proposed properly, not in a fancy restaurant, but in our living room during bedtime stories, with Lyric's enthusiastic approval. We got married in the park where Lyric and Damien had first met, surrounded by family and friends, and the people whose hearts we'd helped heal, his literally, mine metaphorically. And standing there, watching Damien dance with our daughter at our wedding, I thought about that note I'd left him so many years ago. I hope one day you find something money can't buy. He had. We both had. Love, family, time, the things that actually mattered. He'd lost everything to learn that lesson. But in the end, he'd gained it all back, and then some. Because the man who'd once chosen ambition over love had learned to choose differently. And that choice had saved his life. Both of our lives, really. I used to think love was about finding someone perfect, but I was wrong. Love is about finding someone willing to change, to grow, to show up even when it's hard, to choose you every day, even when the world offers them everything else. Damien Cole owned half a city once, but he gave it all up for something better. Mornings with a daughter who had his eyes, evenings with a woman who'd learned to trust him again, and a life built on presence instead of promises. And in the end, that made him richer than any empire ever could. So if you're listening, remember this. You can have all the money in the world and still be broke. Or you can have nothing but love and be the wealthiest person alive. It's not about what you own. It's about who you choose. And every single day, we choose each other. That's the real happy ending. Thank you for following Alara and Damien's journey. If this story touched your heart, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss our next love story. Drop a comment below telling us what lesson you're taking from this story. We love hearing from you. And if you know someone who needs to hear this message about second chances and choosing what matters, share this video with them. Your support means everything and helps us keep bringing you these heartfelt stories. Until next time, remember, love always finds a way. See you in the next story.